Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do the August 25th Spiritual Principle a Day in a meditation. I hope you're doing well this morning. I've had a lot of technical difficulty, so I'm glad to be with you finally. The title of the meditation for today, A New Meaning for Love. How we go about getting love is where our defects come into play, and that comes from the NA Step Working Guides, Step 6, Our Defects of Character. It says, before coming to the fellowship of NA, we had a distorted sense of both giving and receiving love. Now that we're clean, we've got love all figured out. If only that were true. It doesn't matter how much time we have clean or what type of love we are talking about. Love is a serious business that requires vigilance. Where and how do we addicts go looking for love? When we write our inventories and listen to those of our sponsees, that question is answered in abundance. We hear many stories of unmet expectations, abandonment by parents and partners, abuse and neglect. Others are about relationships sought, gained, and sustained through manipulation and passive aggressive behaviors, and sometimes coercive acts. We hear about love being confused with the exchange of sex, money, and, of course, drugs. We did those things to others, and others did them to us. And many of those behaviors will appear in future inventories because our character defects will rear their ugly heads again. The difference is that in NA, we have the opportunity to seek and express love in ways that are manifestations of our assets rather than our defects. In NA, we get to experience the unconditional love of the fellowship. We learn how to love and care for people in the rooms as we learn how to accept that same love and care from others. Also, we will have abundant opportunities outside the rooms to apply the principles of love. Through working the steps honestly and thoroughly, we are far less likely to try and manipulate and control others or let ourselves be manipulated and controlled. I am learning new ways to give and receive love. I don't have to act on my defects to experience love anymore. I will try to love those in my life with acceptance instead of expectations today. Beautiful. Well, let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you, God. Grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Okay, we're talking about a new meaning for love. How many of you are in love out there, in a relationship, just coming out of a relationship, thinking about getting out of a relationship? Probably the majority. Love is something that we as human beings need, we want it, and it's good for us when it's the right kind of love, love that is unconditional and not manipulative. I enjoyed the first part of this meditation because it talks about the wealth of experience that we all have when it comes to love. It fills our inventory, our fourth step work. Relationships is a big part of our fourth step. And if you're new and you haven't gotten to your fourth step, relationships is a big portion of the fourth step work, but it's not all of it. There's so many aspects of it, right? And so when we do our fourth step, we have the opportunity to have an inventory of how we have loved, how we've been loved, how we have not loved, and how we have not been loved. There's a wealth of information that will come out of that fourth step that will allow you to know what your patterns are. And that's what this is about, right? Being able to recognize our patterns. Because when we're talking about our defects of character, a lot of our defects of character will manifest themselves when we are trying to have a relationship or experience love. It's in a somewhat oblivious way. Sometimes we manipulate just because we don't want to take a chance on losing the love that we have. And so fear is the character defect that causes that. Fear. Isn't that something? This is a cycle of recovery. One step leads to the next step leads to the next, and it goes around and around and around. The circle of living recovery. It's a beautiful thing. So what happens when you start identifying your character defects, and it doesn't happen all the time, but when we ask for our character defects, our shortcomings to be removed from us, it's because we've been able to identify the character defects that we have in regards to how we do relationship, how I do love today is different than how I did love before. Polar opposites. The ability to continue to love an individual, be there for an individual, have unconditional love for an individual that can't decide whether or not they want to be bothered with you, right? They act like they don't love you actually. But the determination to not have the same patterns, that every time something doesn't go my way, that I just leave. I run the other way. I'm talking from my own experience. I'm sorry if I'm reading your mail, right? I choose to practice love today in a non-manipulative way. And as a direct result of that newfound freedom, I'm also able to recognize when I'm being manipulated in regards to love. And I can put my foot down. I can draw the line in the sand. I don't have to wait till I'm being beaten to know that this is not love, right? I take my freedom back. I take my life back by being able to love differently in a more healthy manner. I'm also able to recognize when I'm being loved in a healthy way or unhealthy manner. And with that knowledge, we just talked about this in the Just for Today, in the Serenity Prayer. With that knowledge, I can ask for courage to change the things that I can. And for some people, that might mean leaving. That might mean ending an unhealthy relationship that we thought was love. Maybe it started out as love. I don't know your story, but evolved into something else. And a lot of times we had a lot to do with that, but not all the time. We get to find a new meaning for love here. And that process has been a long one for me. But I like how I define love today. And I think you will too. If you're willing to roll your sleeves up and do the work on yourself, I think that you will also find a new meaning for love. Or maybe you've already found it and you have a beautiful experience today when it comes to love. Oh, I love so many different ways today. I think that's another thing. There's these Greek words that apply that are mean love, right? There's agape, there's philia, there's eros, storge. There's these different types of love. And so with these different forms of love, I'm able to make sure when I'm interacting with a person that the appropriate form of love is being applied to them, right? And then that helps me not to get into messes that I shouldn't be in. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I want to challenge you today to go and have a discussion with someone that you trust about how you've loved in the past and what you're going to do different, what you would like to do different. You may not be able to actually do anything differently until you stay clean for a while and work the steps and have a sponsor that helps you apply the spiritual principles, give you understanding, right, of how to do that, and then practice. And you won't always get it right. You won't always get it right, but you can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. I've enjoyed talking to you today. My name is Mighty Stream. I will be talking to you tomorrow, and I am hoping that you are very serious about having a beautiful day on purpose because you deserve it. Talk to you tomorrow.